It is Wednesday evening, and of course, that means it's time for another Auburn Family Night. This is our weekly show where you, the Auburn family, are the stars of the show. It's all about your comments, your questions, your topics, and of course, your calls. All that's coming up on the show right now. War Eagle Auburn family and a special War Eagle, and welcome to those of you that consider yourselves part of our little E2C network family, the best little family within the Auburn family. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, X, however you got here, whenever you got here. Thanks for being here and taking part in the show. We love Wednesday nights here at E2C Network because we get to dive into everything and anything orange and blue. The best way that we can describe it is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. And that's what we'll get into tonight. Anything that you want to discuss is on the table. So don't be shy. If you're watching live, replay, whatever, drop comments, questions in the live chat or in the comments section. And of course, start the show off if you think we've always earned, well, if we've earned it in the past, if we earned it in the show. Smash that like button. It is a huge help letting people know that we're live. Hit the share button as well on social media. Let people know that they need to take part in the show today. The phone lines are now open. If you would like to take part in that tonight, look at the top of the chat, the live chat. Again, this is for just the people watching live, brought to you by our friends at All Things Auburn. And you can take part in the show yourself. Call in, talk with me for a little bit, be the star of the show if you want to. It is now open and available for anybody to take advantage of this evening. What are we going to talk about tonight? Like I said, it's really up to you. But while you're thinking about those things, while you're checking in, posting where you're watching from, War Eagle, however you like to do that, let me do what I call setting the table for you all. We're going to talk, maybe give you some things to get you going about what we could potentially talk about tonight. As you probably saw on social media, even though it's kind of old news now, we've got increasingly good updates about Brian Battie and his situation, about how he's doing with his health since his incident. It looks like the summer rosters are now updated for Auburn football, which means that that's only going to fuel the energy about all those different questions that you got rolling through your mind in the offseason as you're trying to make it through this summer until we get to Auburn football. That's on the table. Obviously, there are a plethora of random different topics that we could hit about things that aren't even news, really like strong news items too. New head coaches have been announced for softball, for women's tennis. Variety of things are continuing to take place right now. New game since we last been together, which has been about 2 weeks because we missed the last week. A matchup with Duke in the ACC SEC Challenge at Cameron Indoor is on the table now for Auburn basketball in the future. I mean, really, you just take your pick. We've got plenty of things to discuss as normal, and you can call in and take part in the show. As a quick reminder at the beginning of the show, and especially if those of you maybe who are Conquer Club members, you don't know what the Conquer Club is. It's a link there's a link in the YouTube description for joining up for that. $1 a month gets you in the door. You can sign up and help support what we do here. We have our annual Conquer Club get together tomorrow evening, 8 to 10. It is not required that you be there the entire time or there at all. It's just something available to you as a Conquer Club member. But I will be in the Discord voice room chat for you guys from 8 to 10. If y'all just want to hang out and talk about, if Discord doesn't end up working out for us, we'll switch over to Zoom. But hope you guys are looking forward to that. So something we try to do every year for our Conquer Club members, and I see some of them already in the chat. All right, let's get going here. What's on the table for you? What's on your minds? What do you want to discuss? What do you want to speak about? Surely we don't have to. I'm going to tell you the two questions that no matter where, no matter when I go live these days, that I get right off the top are topics / questions. Who's going to be the quarterback for Auburn in fall? That question has been answered. So I don't know why we continue to ask that. And is Juju Lewis going to commit? Nobody knows except for Juju Lewis and his family and friends and all that kind of stuff. So if you're obsessing about the decision of a 17 and 18-year-old, it might be time to find something else to build your time in. But obviously that will be exciting news if he ends up deciding to wanting to commit to the Auburn Tigers. Thomas says, I'm excited about the matchup with Duke, and you should be, because it is another historic moment in Auburn basketball history since Bruce has gotten here. Now, granted, this is happening because of the ACC SEC challenge. So you'd say, well, it's only happening because of that. It's still happening. They have felt it worthy to match us up together because they know that's going to draw in big numbers. That's going to draw in big interest. It wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being some prime time or the best time slot game of college basketball on that particular day. I think it's a Wednesday, so we'll be in the evening time most likely. And you can imagine that during basketball season where Tuesdays and Wednesdays are kind of understood, our major college basketball nights, there's going to be a lot of eyes on that game. So you should be excited about it. You should be ready for it. I know I am. The question is, will anybody be able to afford a ticket to this game? I'm going to try. I highly doubt that I'm going to be able to get into that particular game because it's about the same size as us, and you guys know how hard it is to get into an Auburn basketball game at home, much less into Cameron Indoor for a very unique, special matchup with Auburn and Duke in the ACC SEC Challenge. Mr. Flaps says Auburn versus Duke has the game of the year potential. However, I have a hard time realistically seeing Auburn win that game. We are unfamiliar with their place. If it was at Auburn, we win, but at Duke, I don't know. And I am 100%, 99 point. There's always something to disagree about, right? I'm on line with your thinking here, or in line with your thinking. If this is a matchup, I think this year where Auburn looks to be as good, if not better, than last year. And Duke, I don't cover or talk about them a whole lot outside of when, our paths intersect in college basketball, which they will now. But it's Duke, right? And you can expect that they're going to bring probably one of the toughest battles of the season that you could ever face, just because it's Duke and the caliber of athlete they bring in year out. So it's one of those situations where you see what are supposed to be two very good teams, one perennial power, one new power, new blue blood, if you will. And then you'll find a great matchup. But what happens? Is it the home court advantage that's going to push one over the other? And that would obviously be in the favor of Duke. Now, if Auburn can go into Cameron Indoor and have success, even if it's a close loss, that's going to speak volumes for this team. And I'm not calling moral victories. I'm not calling for you need to be satisfied if they don't win. Or I'm just saying basketball is a very nuanced game, nuanced decisions about who goes into the tournaments and all that stuff. We just need a good showing. And hopefully, if you put a good showing up, you'll hopefully put yourself in a position to win the game. But I'm completely okay with you being in line with you about concern, thinking about that. It's perfectly acceptable to be worried about the Auburn-Duke matchup, but we kind of know that we would maybe have a different perspective if we were playing at Neville Arena this year instead of at Cameron Indoor. Going to be amazing, though, to see that that actually happen. The interesting thing, too, is I think by its nature, it's drawing in more. Everybody says they're an Auburn basketball fan, but then there are Auburn basketball fans because it's Auburn. And then there are Auburn basketball fans. Now, the Auburn basketball fans are just stoked and over the moon about this. But I think the layman Auburn college basketball person or fan sees that name and instantly is drawn towards it. So it's got a good billing, and it's going to show out for that. Devin's in the house. War Eagle, she says, it's been a minute. Where have you been, Devin? I don't feel like we've talked to you that much on these live streams. It's like you're busy or something. It's like you have a life outside of what we do here. Don't even have an excuse for not popping in, but I'm glad to be back. Just got done celebrating my son's 4th birthday. Well, belated birthday to him. Where does the time go? Yeah, we got to get you back in the mix here. We got to start. I know we see you in the Discord and all the time, but we got to get our. And here's the thing, folks. We're in summertime. You've heard me say this a lot lately. I know everybody's busy traveling and stuff like that, but I do want to champion everybody, whether you're a Conquer Club member or not. let's start getting some of our people that that have been here before, maybe have fallen off a little bit, back into the fold here, and getting this thing geared up for the year ahead. Start inviting people over if you can. That'd be a great thing. Flaps wants to know thoughts on baseball next year. This past year was a real struggle, but we have been landing some very solid transfer additions. Yeah, so a couple things on that. Always, kind of operate with caution, right? Because you don't know how new recruits / transfers are going to work out. However, I put a little bit more stock in some transfers because you've got, collegiate experience and collegiate tape to look at them, not just high school tape, whether you're talking about football, baseball, whatever. So yes, that you can probably put a little bit more stock in that. We know what the problem was. I don't think there's any qualms about me saying this. We have one of our former pitchers who was a regular here on this channel, and probably doesn't have any qualms to be said. The pitching was the problem this year. Point blank. It was bad. It was awful. I can say that, but also say in the same instance that firing your pitching coach 2 years in a row is not necessarily the problem or the answer to the problem. A lot of people, that's their, and it kind of shows you too who is not informed on the situation when their answer is baseball team is horrible, fire the pitching coach. That's not how that should work. It should be an actual evaluation. So if he's staying around, which he is up to this point, and Butch Thompson, who has proven time and time and time again that he knows how to make a bad situation better or exceed expectations most of the time, I put my faith in Butch Thompson and what he can do with this team, this staff. And so these transfers that he's bringing in, he seems super excited about them. Brought in some pitchers, brought in some outfielders, I believe, maybe an infielder as well. Some from, SEC talent. Some from coming up from the lower conferences. Across the board. Baseball next year will hopefully have a better year, but we didn't expect them to have this bad a year. It was a true anomaly that I don't believe is going to happen again. And if it does, not for a long time down the road. I think the problems will be fixed. Devin is super excited about the Duke matchup. Here's a quick question for the room / Devin. Would you rather attend an Auburn, Alabama SEC championship game in football or be able to go to this Auburn Duke matchup in Cameron Indoor? Now, before you immediately answer what I think in that scenario is what everybody's gut reaction would be, think about it from this angle. Both tickets are going to be expensive, but the SEC championship, as it's currently played, is played in not the Georgia Dome, but the Mercedes-Benz. Lots more seats, lots more availability. Cameron Indoor, about as small as Auburn's arena. And when we say small, that's out of respect. The way it's built, the way the acoustics work, the environment is built within it. Tickets are going to be not only expensive, but limited. So if you could choose to be at the SEC championship game this year with Auburn and Alabama, or that Auburn Duke matchup in Cameron Indoor, what would you choose? Instinct is probably for most of you to say the Iron Bowl in the SEC championship. I would say the Duke basketball matchup. So Thomas is a huge football guy. 100% understand this. And I know that's most people's reaction. I would be in a struggle for this, but as a college basketball junkie, the ability to be in Cameron Indoor and watch my Tigers take on one of the most prominent, if not, some would argue the most prominent names in college basketball, that would be it for me. That would be it for me. Tough choice, Devin says. I feel like I would rather go to the Duke game. It doesn't come along very often. And see, that's the thing you have to think about too. Auburn has a shot every year to make it to the SEC championship game. Alabama has a shot every year to make it to the SEC championship game. And every year now, as it's set up, they both have a shot to show up together. Very unlikely, but it's possible. And I would argue that it's more likely to see that again, or more likely you'll see that again before an Auburn-Duke matchup in Cameron Indoor. Thankfully, with the ACC SEC Challenge, you might see that again in a decade, but that will probably be like a return trip, like meaning them coming to Auburn this time. So it may be 2 decades before you see it again. Just some things to think about. It seems like an easy choice at the start. I don't think it's as easy as some people think it is, though. Saying that Auburn Arena and Neville Arena and Cameron are similarly small is not a knock. I have always heard Auburn use Cameron's standard for a small arena when they designed it. Yeah, from what I had explained to me is it took a lot of things into effect. Cameron Indoor was one of those as well. And it makes sense why you would model the makeup of your arena after something like that. And it shows in how year in and year out, Neville Arena has talked about how incredible the environment is. And being small in a college basketball arena is not necessarily a knock, especially when you fill it up consistently. When's the next time the matchup will happen? I think I kind of answered that. We won't know when the matchup will happen again. There are 16 teams now in the SEC and ACC, I believe, because they just added Cal. They added Cal. Hold on, I'm trying to get this right in my head. This is all this is so confusing. USC and UCLA went to the Big Ten. Cal and Stanford and SMU came over to the ACC. I know. So that gives them 15. So effectively, they could go through this for 15 years, and then you would get to swap it back over. Who knows? I don't know. Because when is the next time the matchup will happen? It's hard to tell when things are rhetorical. I don't know. But she got my mind going. Something I've always loved about Auburn is that they will always look at good transfer players from lower divisions. There's great talent in those divisions, and Auburn will give those players a shot. I agree with you. Let's not act like it's exclusive to Auburn, but Auburn seems to do this a lot. And, there are a variety of reasons for why that is. I think especially the way Auburn's been right now with decisions they've made that have not worked out in coaching regimes and stuff like that, have had them be a little bit more exploratory when we're talking about football with who they use or who they go after, things like that. So to me, I see Jalen McLeod, for example, most recent, coming from App State, had a pretty good season last year after battling some injuries. You got some other guys that are Gage Keys would probably be one of them, taking the step up to the next level. Variety of players that you could probably throw into that, even some not recent as well. So yes, I do think there's probably a history of us being able to show that we can give you the opportunity that you're seeking, but also not just give you the opportunity, but set you up for success to make the most of your opportunity at the Power 5 level. And hopefully Jalen McLeod will be another great example of that. You were making the point that I was making earlier. There might be a little bit of a delay on the video feed. Sometimes it takes a second for it all to get through over there. And I think some of you probably figured out by now on YouTube side of things, there are ads that pop up in the middle of shows now and stuff like that. So sometimes that can put you a little bit behind on your responses, which all that kind of stuff. It is what it is, and it is what we have. It's what we have to do as content creators. But anyway, in the image over here, you'll see next to me this way, Kyle. It's always flipped for me. You'll see within the thumbnail image for this show a shot that we took about a week and a half now of what I call the beginning day of the video board and in the north end zone. And then we also got another shot a week after that I just shared today Not much had transpired in about a week's time. Now it's been about 2 or 3 days since I took those pictures, so I would be curious if anything else has happened. I'll probably be back through Auburn in the next week or two, so I'll make another stop by there. But where's everybody at on the video board? Is anybody still confused, uncertain, um, intrigued by like why this is being done, how this is being done? I've been so fascinated by how often the questions being asked is, when will this be ready? It just goes to show you that not everybody gets the same amount of information that maybe obviously me, the content creator for Auburn stuff, gets, but even just the everyday person. Because I thought this was made a big deal of, and everybody understood that this was coming out in 2025, not this season, that this is the beginning of an expansion. So that, those are the common thread questions in comments I'm getting. When is this coming out, and why are they not expanding? Well, they are. This is just the beginning stages of it. So I didn't know if anybody had any hot thoughts about that, or questions, or if anybody's still confused about it. But that's why we put it up in their image, because it was one of the bigger topics the last couple weeks with that getting approved and officially started. It's way past time for a screen on both sides of the stadium, Thomas says. I don't know that I envisioned a screen on both sides. And I think a lot of Auburn fans envisioned just the bowl being closed in for almost a horseshoe style look, which I've also tried to envision myself, and how they'd have to round off the upper deck over there. I don't know actually if I like the rounded off look. If you look at Texas A&M's end zones, that's probably what I feel like it would look better as. It is intriguing to think about how they could or would not expand in that end zone with this video board there. The great thing is it's being set back, away from the current seating, not super far, but enough to give room for that expansion. What I would be interested in is what plans have been shown or not shown to the board when they were making this decision for what the potential expansion might look like. Once the video board's in place in the next phase of funding or approval or whatever needs to take place. I don't know if you guys know this, but when the Auburn Board of Trustees meets, they post online on the Auburn website their meeting minutes, any materials like the renderings y'all have seen, probably most of you, about this new video board. So most of what is discussed obviously is in the light of day. But I have to believe that some things it's proprietary, the word, not proprietary, or just for their eyes only. So I'm curious what has or hasn't been shown for what the plans might be. Travis with the comment of the night, apparently. Nobody cares about looks. Win games, 4 exclamation points. Then it all looks aesthetically nice. Put the A on there. Probably meant to have the A on there. Travis, I'm only picking on you a little bit because you got to understand when you throw the exclamation points on there, it comes across a little bit over dramatic. But I hear you, man. Don't disagree with you about winning games is the only thing that matters. But the fact of the matter is you're actually wrong. People do care about these things, and it's an important thing to talk about. So I get what you're saying. I'm on the same wavelength with you, but we can still, value these things and talk about expanding the future. And the reality of what Travis is probably getting at here, all that will come with time as if you're winning games, you're filling up the stadiums and all that kind of stuff. And that's a part of the discussion that I think is missed a lot, is that we need to expand. Well, no, you got to fill up the stadium every single season for a while to prove that that's going to be needed. And Auburn typically sells out a lot of its games every single year, but a few of them they don't. When tickets are so hard to come by, that's when they'll start expanding the stadium. It's always easy to expand for games like Oklahoma, for Alabama, for Georgia, for those ones. But you've got to show you can't be Alabama fans and not show up for your rinky-dink games. That's why their stadium looks so empty for some of those games out there. So I get what you're saying. Tone down the exclamation point just a little bit. Mr. Bryant, good to see you. Another one of our Booster Club members. Thank you for your support, sir. Unbeaten Lake, one of our regulars, says WDE from a plane over Minnesota. Give those Gophers the business for us as you are flying over them, and stay safe. Always safe travels. Wishing when you're on a plane. I'm not a fan of traveling by plane. I know it's still one of the safest ways that you can travel. I still don't like it. But thanks for your commitment tuning in here, flying over Minnesota. A lot of you are still doing it. Like we had Bryant checking in from Tallahassee, Thomas from Leeds, Lafayette with Donald earlier, Pelham, a lot of Alabama, obviously. But, you know, when you guys come into the streams, always do make sure you do your check-ins. If you don't have to, but I always like to know where you're checking in from, because I like to show how wide, how broad everybody is in the Auburn family. I mean, we've had people in Iowa, Alaska, across the ocean over in England and France and Spain. I believe we've had somebody check in from Japan, one from Australia, I think, too, just everywhere. There you go. Flaps is getting it from the ATL. I'm not too far from you. Obviously, I never give my exact location, but you know, I tell you, I'm in the Atlanta vicinity. Vicinity is an operative term there, but I always like to know where you guys are checking in from, and see how wide and expansive the Auburn family is today. I'll give a quick little plug for something. We have on the schedule this Friday to do a podcast with a leader of the Auburn Birmingham Club, or the Greater Birmingham Auburn Club would be the official name, the GBAC. A lot of these are these alumni groups that you see organize events for alumni who, you know, in their towns. And one of the biggest ones is the Birmingham one. We're going to be talking with him about that Birmingham club, but also, you know, what they've got going on. They've got Ambush, for those of you that love that event every year. Coaches come and talk to some of the major markets. They're one of them. Talk about their kickoff event stuff. So we're going to be having a conversation with him that I'm excited about. This Friday episode will likely be posted on Saturday. And so hope you guys are interested in that. Let's see. Headed for Calgary. Thought about going to Edmonton for the Stanley Cup, but tickets were too expensive. Not really a hockey fan unless we're talking about Auburn's club hockey team. It'd be cool if Auburn, there was a sanctioned varsity level club, not club, but hockey team for Auburn. I think that would send them over the edge, you know. What a name. I think this is formerly known just as Kerry Yang. He's got it all in his name now. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Woo, knocked the microphone there. Let's see here. Kind of off topic, but I run an Auburn Instagram account. Do you have any tips for running an account? Well, what's your goal? I mean, what's your goal with it? Is it just to gain followers and get likes? Is it to run it as a business? Is it to run it as just funsies? I mean, I guess I'd have to have some, you know, information about that. Yeah, maybe a little bit more context for any of that you've got going on there. I would take it you're doing this as maybe some sort of a little side hustle adventure or something like that. If you look at our Instagram account, we're not the biggest out there. I've tried to crack the Instagram code countless times. Now I just do what works for me and what's easiest for me. Frankly, find what works for you and then see if the people will follow there. Instagram is it seems so easy to crack their code, their algorithm, but it's just not. And frankly, a lot of people buy their followers. Like seriously, they go to these companies and they buy their followers so they can get their likes and all that stuff. So when you see these people that have all this, sometimes it's not as genuine as you think it is. You're happy we do the family nights. Talk to the fans of your channel and keep up the good work. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we enjoy doing these as well. You know, these aren't our most viewed and prominent shows, but I think it's important for especially those of you that want to know some regularity to what we do, for us to have these mainstays of our content that are always here. Wednesday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9. Outside of me being on vacation, scheduling conflicts, you can expect those shows to be there. Auburn Family Night, what we're doing now, talking to you, having the phone lines open for those that want to take advantage of it, but also Sunday nights for our live podcast recording, which has a little bit of this element before and after too. Flap says, for followers and for fun, I'm interested in sports journalism and sports reporting, broadcasting. So starting an account felt like a good idea for me. Yeah. And I think experimenting, when you get into content creation, just experimenting, and don't wait to figure out the perfect thing. Just start doing it. You can always restart or change, all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes the biggest problem as content creators we have is just getting started. Find something you like to do that you know you'll like to keep doing, and then keep up with it. And don't worry about the numbers. If you're doing it for the numbers, which, you kind of insinuated, if that's one of your main reasons, you will stop doing it. I've seen it thousands of times. I can't tell you how many podcasts for Auburn have started and ended in the 11 years that we've been doing this now, almost 11 years, simply because they didn't get the numbers that they thought they were going to get. We don't get the big numbers, but we do it because we love it. I do it because I love it. And the rest falls into place. Sorry, I got on my soapbox there a little bit. Do I plan on going to any Auburn football games? Did I buy tickets yet? Yes, I have. I have season tickets. Be in a relatively similar place that I was last year. Again, I don't really broadcast that out on here, but I will be there. I will be on, and even if I didn't have season tickets, I would be at, the plan would to be at all of the home games to cover it, to share information from there. Travis, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Women flag football or ultimate frisbee would be nice as a club sport. I believe we do have a club team as flag football. For maybe even, I don't know if we have a women's flag football team, but at ultimate frisbee, I'm pretty sure we do have. I'm like 99% sure that that's a real thing. So remember, there's the difference between the NCAA varsity sanctioned sports programs, and then there's the club teams as well. Those are the ones that don't get enough attention. I think probably the one that gets the most attentions are your hockey team, your rugby team, and there's like a volleyball team, I think a beach volleyball team. Basically, I think most of the Olympic sports have one, Yes, they do have a club hockey team. With Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC, every SEC team schedule will be harder. Auburn's schedule already really hard because having Georgia and Alabama. Yes, it ain't easy, and it just got more difficult. But I love it too. We should all be embracing having Oklahoma and Texas as part of the SEC for a variety of reasons. It just made us that much better, and not just football, across the board, folks. Look at what Oklahoma has done in softball for the last 4 years now, I think. Look at what Texas has done in a lot of the Olympic sports. Pay attention outside of football. You will see why they were brought into the fold. It increases their market share in Texas. It increases their reach out in Oklahoma. If there will be another bit of expansion, I think if the SEC would be wise to pull in a West Virginia type player to have an arm almost into the Northeast, and a Miami to get that market, which I know some of you say we already have Florida. It's a lot different. I think those two additions would be very wise for them. But on Oklahoma and Texas's front, I'm a fan of it. Flap says, I've gotten a decent traction with 400 followers, but when I was so driven in followers, it became less fun. When I focused on having fun, followers came with it. Absolutely. And that's the best advice I can give to you as a perspective. What it sounds like you want to be a content creator. We don't get the numbers that your major Auburn media entity people get out there. And there's reasons for that, because there's some different things that we do. One of the things is we don't lean heavily into the recruiting aspect. And when I say that, I mean, we talk about the recruiting stuff that matters, the commits, the transfers, the people that actually have signed, not is Juju Lewis going to commit. The obsession is sickening sometimes. And I was one of those at one point. So I say all that to say, do what you love, and love what you do. Do what you love and love what you do. I don't know if that's it sounded better in my head. It didn't come out that way. 25 days away from the early release of College Football 25. What team are you going to beat down first? Whichever one comes up on the screen for me. I actually haven't bought that yet or my new system. It has been, I know y'all like Kyle, you're saying this again, but I promise you, if you had had the last 3-4 weeks that I have had, you'd be like, what did I do wrong? So life is finally, hopefully settled a little bit again. And we will be able to do some of those things we've been talking about doing by getting the new system and all that thing. But yeah. Kerry Yang just changed his name. Throwing me off with the name changes there. Hey, no one can blame me for having two of the best teams on the schedule. I respect Nick Saban, but if Alabama falls, I can't complain. Honestly, better for Auburn. Of course. I wish Alabama to fail every time they go out there. You'll see. Well, I don't think they're going to fail too much. South Florida is a huge resource for recruiting. Adding Miami to the conference would do a lot for the whole conference. Yeah, and it's not that Auburn or anybody else is hurting going down there, but I'm just trying to think of you want to extend your reach as far as you can, and Auburn and the SEC has done that with how they've kept the conference together. But there's still that lower part of Florida that's not theirs. There's that northeast, wing of the conference that only extends up into Kentucky. So yeah, you could say, well, add a North Carolina, add a Virginia, add a Virginia Tech, whatever. I think West Virginia would be the best one, to be honest with you. That's just me though. And Miami on top of that. And I'd say if they could pull those two off in the next wave of expansion, which we all know is coming, be done with it after that point. Let the everybody else keep the fray. You have a contiguous conference. It's reasonable travel for majority of them. You almost kind of create these subgroups too, because think about it. Then you'd have West Virginia, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. That can almost kind of be a little bit of a subgroup. You've got your Alabama, Auburn's, Mississippi States. You'd have your Georgia, Florida, Florida State, South Carolina, not Florida State, Miami, South Carolina, LSU, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma. And I'm forgetting somebody. Who am I forgetting? Did I say Vanderbilt? Who am I forgetting? I left somebody out of that. Tennessee. And that forgot about Tennessee. But I think you get my point. I feel like after 5 home games in football, we will be 5-0. I hope so. That'd be a great start. Great start to the season. If Auburn pulls off 5-0, they will be rolling with some momentum heading into the most difficult game of their season to that point. No matter how it shakes out, it will be the most difficult. After Hugh Freeze came in recruiting so much better, our best wide receiver recruit is Cam Coleman, 5-star player. He could be a reliable starter for us. That it could be is the operative term. A lot of people are already assuming that is a foregone conclusion, which I grant to you is kind of likely, mostly likely. But let's not act like we are the decision makers on that. 5-star does not determine that you start. 5-star does not determine that you win. If that was the case, Texas A&M would not be having a new head coach this year. Unbeaten Lake says, all we need is Thorne to improve and our offense will be one of the top in the nation. Disagree a little bit with you there. Thorne does need to improve his play. I will give you that, but it's not all we need. We need an offensive line to continue to improve. We need wide receivers to actually catch the ball when it hits them in the hands, which is still not proven to this point. And the running game could be a little bit stouter. So it's a holistic fix that needs to happen. The Kerry Yang asked, what would you like for Peyton Thorne to improve on or make changes to his play? I think for him personally, not getting into the patterns that Bo Nix did, which are understandable, of running too quickly and rushing things. You're going to have to trust that offensive line even when they give you no faith in that. And I think, Sorry about that. I think I'm back online now. It's the second time tonight that I have I've knocked the. There we go. Mic check. Mic check. There we go. Second time tonight, I have knocked the microphone. That time, it actually knocked it off of the off the rack there. I believe Thorne will be vastly superior to last year. He had so much more time in the program to learn and get used to Freeze's offense. Absolutely. But turnovers, trusting your offensive line, even when they don't give you time, would be something. CDM says, hopefully we will look like a totally different team this season. I agree. That's what we're all hoping for. We are all hoping for that, my friend. The production on our offense will be determined by how our O-line works out. Could not agree more. It's usually what determines the success of an offense. Latrell, very positive, very high on our offensive line. I hope so. They just haven't and it's a different group of guys with every year, but they haven't given me that. They've improved every year, but it's been like this much. So until I can see that significant improvement, which maybe will be in year 2 under Will Thornton, maybe we'll see that. Thomas knows best. All right, got a lot of questions popping in now, and we got a caller waiting, so stand by, caller. We'll bring you in just a second. Let's see. Something that embarrassed me as an Auburn fan was when everybody was trying to recruit Ryan Williams to come here. He is never interested in it and was doing it all for the attention and clout. Does it remind you of anybody right now? Let me take what you said and unpack it a little bit. There is nothing wrong with Auburn fans, any fan group, getting excited about wanting someone and trying to intrigue them to come in here. I would argue that helps in minor ways to show that, wow, these guys are passionate about. Let me continue to consider them. However, what you have to remember, and what people, grown men too, especially because those are the ones who by and large obsess over recruiting, have to remember is that you are obsessing over the decisions of a 17 and an 18-year-old. Now, I know how some of you act now. I can only imagine how you acted when you were 17 and 18-year-olds. I know me as well. So remember that. They like the attention. They like all the buzz. Sometimes that's all it's about. I'm not saying that's the case for Julian. I think there was a little bit of that for Ryan Williams. Just some food for thought. What is the most popular Auburn sport right now? Probably still basketball in terms of correlating interest and success, but it's always going to be football, and that won't ever change. How about Peyton Thorne as a runner? He showed us last year that he was a very reliable runner. Can you see him improving on that this year, or will he go back to strictly passing with better receivers? Well, that's the term. If they're better receivers, right? We don't know. We don't know. But one of the things that I said a lot last year, and it's continued even recently, I talked to the individual who told me and begged me to believe him that Peyton Thorne was a better runner than he was, and he was right. And I still continue to give him credit. Mark Rogers of college football, the voice of college football. Check him out on YouTube if you haven't. He told me, Kyle, you're dismissing how good a runner he is. And boy, he was right. So I think it'll still be a factor, especially in a Hugh Freeze offense. All right, I'm going to get to our caller in just a second here. Dalton, one of our Conquer Club members, did Micah call in? Not yet. So if those of you wonder what we're talking about, Dalton's a regular on TikTok. We do TikTok lives around lunchtime most weekdays. And yeah, as expected, no Micah. He's probably checked in, but we know he's scared to call in. Let's see here. Let's be nice. He's not a coward. He's not a coward, but he is proving the stereotype true right now. Let's see. CDM. I'll talk maybe more about that in the back end, but we addressed that. And I posted some pictures today on our social media if you're not following. Nothing really significant, but I'll be making a run by there in the next week or two. So we'll probably have some more updates on you about that. All right. We've got one caller who's been very patient and waiting to talk to us. So let's go ahead and get him in. He's one of our regulars. If you need a dose of optimism, this is our guy for you. You know him, you love him. Mr. Kevin, what's going on, sir?
Hey, War Eagle, Cal, I think our offense will do really good, offense line.
I believe you too, buddy. I'm excited for a fresh start for this offense across the board. Quarterback, offensive line, wide receivers, running back room is basically the same, but even a fresh start for them. Year 2 under Hugh Freeze, I think, is going to pay better dividends.
I heard Brian Baby's doing good.
Yeah, it seems like it based on what his family has shared via their GoFundMe. We posted a video today about what we understood the update to be: being out of ICU, moving extremities more, forming words. These are all good updates, and these are all the things that we were praying for. And obviously the doctors have had a very strong hand in that, but through the power of prayer as well, and the strength that I'm sure his faith has given him, he's making a recovery, it seems like, in most ways. What else is on your mind tonight?
Cam Coleman.
I was wondering how long it'd take you to get there. What about Cam Coleman?
He will have like either 10 or 12 touchdowns.
Now, you dropped that down a little bit. You were telling me 20 the last couple of weeks. I will agree with you that I think he could reach 10 or 12 touchdowns if he's as good as advertised, and if we can get the ball to him, because you can be a great wide receiver, but if we can't get the ball to you, meaning the quarterback and the offensive line giving him time to throw, it doesn't matter. So I agree with you. I think 10 touchdowns for Cam Coleman is not out of the realm of possibility.
And Perry Thompson be the leading touchdown.
Oh, wait, you think Perry's going to do better than Cam Coleman now? Uh-oh. I think we're frozen. Are you there, Kevin? Kevin, are you there? Hang on. We lost you a little bit there. I think you're back. You said Perry Thompson is going to do better than Cam Coleman?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, only time will tell. It'd be a nice narrative, a nice story to see that, the guy that everybody's hyping up actually is the number 2 guy. So if that's what happens, I think Auburn will be doing very well. So I'm excited to have him too.
Hopefully Bryce King start.
He's got a leg up, I think, on finding playing time. I don't know about starting. That's for the coaches to decide. Yeah. But him being here in the spring and the A-Day game is definitely giving him a leg up on competition who's vying for starting time. So he's got a good shot at it, I think, even as a freshman.
And I think our defense line be good too.
I think they're going to be good. I just don't know what to make of them because it's a lot of transfers. And then some of our guys we're familiar with, like Keldrick Falk, Jason Jones, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of new guys are going to make it a little bit difficult to predict what's going to happen with them. What else you got tonight? We may have lost you again.
And the field goal kicker.
What just happened? Are we good? Is everybody okay? Kevin? Are we okay?
Yeah.
What just happened there? All I heard was you ask a question, and then there was cackling in the background. I hope we're all right.
My dog was barking.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what was happening there. Man, that scared me for a second. I thought something had happened in the car.
So, the running back, he might commit to Auburn too.
Which one?
That good one might have been talking about.
I'm not familiar with which one you're talking about, but you remember, I don't really focus on the guys' decisions until they actually get here. So I'm probably not as informed on that one, but hopefully you're right. Hopefully we'll be talking about some new commitments here soon, maybe even at running back.
And we got Eric Winters now.
I know. Aren't you excited about that one? That one's been going for a while. I think a lot of people expected him to commit a lot earlier, so that was good to finally get that figured out. I got time for one final question or topic. What you got for me?
And I think the next commitment will be Juju Lewis.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first, folks. Kevin has spoken it into being. Juju Lewis is coming up next for Auburn. We'll see if you're correct. We'll talk about it next week, I'm sure, too, buddy.
Okay,
So, War Eagle, thanks for calling in.
bye.
Bye. That was Kevin. He was one of our regulars. Appreciate him calling in. You guys can call in too by utilizing the link up there. It's already 8:50. We typically only stay on here till about 9 o'clock. Always willing to stay on a little bit longer if you all are interested in that, if the conversation is going well. But you all kind of dictate that so the phone lines will stay open for a minute. I'll go back to maybe some of your comments and questions that we haven't addressed yet, that maybe were brought up during our conversation with Kevin. Let me first give you, since we're kind of at the 10-minute left, quote unquote left mark of where we are at normally in our schedule, what to expect next here at E2C Network. We always talk about Wednesday nights. You're here right now, so you made it. Don't miss next week at 8 p.m. But our next scheduled being the operative term, live stream is episode 82 for the Auburn Experience. Live recording with Austin and myself. It is the flagship show of everything we do. We talk about Auburn sports, Auburn family, Auburn culture stuff too. Don't miss that, 9 Eastern time on Sunday night. I mentioned TikTok lives. If you are a TikTok person, most middays usually have a good time over there. It's a little bit of a rougher, rowdier crowd, but we keep them in check over there. And maybe Micah will call in one day, Dalton. Got a lot of content we're going to be putting out across social media, just probably for the next several days and weeks. So we got a lot of stuff backlogged with more news coming out, I'm sure. So be staying tuned, subscribing. Big thing. If you guys are not subscribed to our podcast, we'd really love to see you jump in on that. You can do it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's links in our description here on YouTube. And leave a review if you can, even if it's just a very short, we love the podcast type of thing, or if you hated it, whatever. Those do help us out on the audio podcast side of things. You're watching a video, which people call the podcast, which it kind of is too. But any of that is fair game, and we would appreciate you doing any of that for us. Let's see here. This was from Flaps earlier. I'm in high school and I couldn't agree more. If I could buy some miracle, if I buy some miracle was on the top time recruit, I would want the attention for recruiting as well. It's always something to keep in mind. Eric Winters came as a surprise to me. I didn't keep up with the recruitment too much, but I'm glad we got him. I don't, obsess over these guys and their decision-making process, but from what I understand, this is one that I thought most were saying would have made his decision earlier. Sometimes they need that extra push, and one of these big recruiting weekends definitely is a help. So that was a good get for Auburn. All right, we got our next caller, another one of our regulars, Mr. Thomas Manville. What's going on, sir?
War Eagle, y'all, how are y'all this evening?
We are doing well as can be. Back together on a Wednesday night. Back together with you, sir, in your man cave. So it's good to see you.
It's good to see y'all too.
What's on your mind tonight?
It's I guess what you see under my name there is hashtag improvements.
Hashtag improvements. Talk to me about hashtag improvements.
Man, what this staff, not just the coaching staff, the guys behind the scenes, the managers, the operations personnel, the player personnel, all those guys in the back, what they've done with recruiting so far is stupid impressive compared to what we've been seeing for the last 8-9 years, give or take. Like it's leaps and bounds better. I mean, the quality of guy they're bringing in, and I know you say that stars don't matter, but
sure,
they don't matter every time. But if you got the best guys in the country out there as a blanket on your team, not just the 2 best receivers and then your mediocre quarterback, mediocre everywhere else, they're probably not going to look that great. But if you're putting quality guys across the whole team, there's no reason that we can't improve and continue to get better and win. Yep. And then continue to get better in recruiting, because there's 2 ways to recruit these big time kids. It's we're going to build around you, or look what we have that you can already work with.
Right.
And that staff is using that to their advantage.
Both ways, I think. I think they can use it both ways. And I'll clarify too. And I try to always add this in here when I make that statement. stars don't matter as much as people think that it matters.
Yeah.
But it does matter. And there is some truth behind what you're seeing there. But the biggest example I will always use of that there, you cannot count on that holistically, is Texas A&M. They would not be where they are right now if stars mattered. They had every 5-star you could ask for, every amount of money, and they still failed. Because if your coach is an idiot, then, can you tell how I feel about Jimbo Fisher? Here's the thing. I don't really hate Jimbo Fisher. He just annoys me. It's just one of those things where I'm just like, why? I mean, you could be a much likable person. Anyway, I'm going down a rabbit hole and being mean to somebody I don't even know. All that to say, your point stands that it does matter, just not as much as people think it does sometimes. The obsession over it can get a little wrong. All right, let's keep talking about improvements. What else you got?
They're making improvements to the stadium. We touched on that just a little bit. I think it's high time there's multiple improvements to the stadium. So with the way the NIL works and the money that's coming into Auburn now, there's money to throw around. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying there wasn't in the past, because there's a lot of heavy hitters behind the scenes. They've got some
Yellowwood.
Yeah, buddy, that pressure-treated pine, you can't beat.
Pressure-treated pine.
Pressure-treated pine. Hey, and if he keeps throwing dollars like that pressure-treated pine is going to be whooping some folks up and down the grass. That's for dang sure. But, I mean, I'm not going to say they didn't have money, but they may not have just been willing to put it all towards the football program in the past. And I get it. You want to see a product on the field. And you got to trust the person you're letting spend that money.
Yep.
And if you don't trust that person to spend that money, you're not going to hand it to them. That's just, I ain't giving you $5 to go get a cheeseburger if I think you're not going to get a cheeseburger.
Right. That's a funny thing that you bring up too, because I'm always fascinated by the general fans' relationship with what we would call the boosters, even though you and I are technically boosters by definition because of us spending money on the program. But we understand when you say the word booster, what you're talking about. The mega millionaires, the people that got money lying around that they can just, dole out for NIL and all that kind of stuff. The relationship with that, the general fan and the boosters, always intrigued me. In one hand, they will beg for them and wonder why they're not spending more money when they don't even know how much they are spending. And in the other instance, they'll be dogging them about how much influence they have. You can't have one without the other. Yeah. It's their money. They get to choose what they do with it, whether you like it or not. So you better decide how you feel about them and be a little bit more consistent, because you need the big power hitters. Because as much as it's great that we found ways to use NIL for the general fan through On to Victory, other avenues and things like that, the difference is the bulk of it is made up in the big time heavy hitters. And you need them, and they need to see a product, as you were saying.
I'm not going to say anything poor about On to Victory, but On to Victory is buying cleats, and the heavy hitters are buying recruits.
Right.
Not all the dollars are equal in this situation, just so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. So I hope everybody understands that. All right. So we talked about improvements, recruiting, improvements on structures, facilities, things of that. Obviously, we won't see a ton of that right now outside of construction, and at least we know how to do it without making ourselves foolish like Vanderbilt. But what else? What else you got in terms of improvements?
Culture. And that's a big one. Pay attention. Culture. We just came out of a pretty bad coaching situation and nobody said good things about the culture.
Right.
So you've got guys that were not on board with that in the first place that are in a brand new one. And we saw some of the social media stuff and players talking back and forth, and we saw guys pack up and leave. They didn't want to be a part of it no more. That's all right with me. I don't hate you for leaving, because I can't have a favorite player. I can have a favorite team, though. But I don't hate them for leaving. And you got to clean room out. You got to trim the fat, so to speak, to get some of these other guys in, maybe guys that are not going to be playing this year, but you got to get the guys in there so you can start building. And that it starts with culture. That what is the Auburn football program about? What are their values? What do they want to work for? How are they going to work for it? What's your mindset? And they built a great staff. They've got the players in there, and this culture is growing. And it's apparent. You follow some of these players on social media, they're together all the time. And it's not just team building stuff. They're out there taking their free time and working on football together. That's a culture fit. You got guys that are saying, hey, man, we need you here. and they're starting to, some guys have decommitted and they're still in contact with some of our players that we got there now. That's a culture thing. You're building this culture to improve the program, to improve the quality of players you have, to be able to win more games, and then continue to improve the entire program and the university. Because if you're winning championships in any sport, the university benefits. I mean, people played clarinet in the $1 Million Band because Nick Saban was winning championships, not because they wanted to leave New Jersey, but they knew there was going to be in a bowl game playing the flute. They knew. So, and it was winning fixes a lot of things. So it's going to benefit the entirety of Auburn University if our sports teams continue to improve. Baseball.
Yep. I was wondering where that was going to come into play when you said that. I also got sidetracked there because I was thinking of when you said about the $1 Million Band, there might be $1 million there, but they ain't a tooth between them. So that's why they don't make the whistles and the noises from the instruments. It actually comes from the gaps in their teeth, when they're playing all this. All right. That's enough, Kyle. All right. So improvements in recruiting, improvements on facilities, improvements on culture. Anything else?
I can't think of anything else right now. I'm just happy that it's trending in an upward direction.
I like that assessment because those are all things that are obviously important, but in terms of building a foundation, culture, you're building up your stocks, your depth chart with who you're bringing in, the caliber, the right fits, not just the star fits, but the right fits. And then obviously you got to have something good, worthwhile to put them in. And Jordan Hare is good. It is worthwhile. It is a great facility, is a great environment, but it can always be better. And I think that's what you're saying here is there's a continual focus on improving across the board right now at Auburn, which puts everybody in a little bit of a better mood, I feel like.
I can agree with that. Yep. When you're seeing progress, you feel better about what's to come.
Yep, absolutely. That's a good word tonight. You came prepared, and I love it. Quick side note for you, sidebar for me and Thomas. Are you going to be at the call tomorrow?
I'm going to do my darndest to be there tomorrow. You said it's 8, so that's 8 Eastern, so that'd be 7 Central, right?
8. We're doing it from 8 to 10. You don't have to be there on time, or you can come in like the last 5 minutes, whatever. You don't have to come at all, but we just want, just hang out time. Like you did it last year, I think, with us. And we want to make sure you saw that 8 to 10, it'll be we're going to try it in the Discord this year. So, but yeah, just so you know, sidebar with me and Thomas real quick. Hey, buddy, good to hear from you tonight. Thanks for calling in. As always, we appreciate you coming prepared with some great thoughts.
All right, guys. War Eagle. Have a good evening.
War Eagle. All right, we've heard some of our regulars tonight. I think we'll go ahead and close down the phone lines. If someone is calling in right now, or if you happen to get in line, I'll still be here for another few minutes, so I can take it if you were already like dialing in and stuff like that. A lot of comments were coming in from Flaps, especially during that. But let's take a few of these if we haven't talked about them. Flaps ask, what would you say is your favorite memory as an Auburn fan? Now that is too difficult, because the right answer for me to get to you is when I proposed to my lovely wife, Jessica, in the rain room, with the trophy room, in front of the championship trophy, and made some big speech about how, she's the only, and it sounds cheesy and it actually sounds kind of bad now that I think about it, but the only trophy that I'd ever need. And that's not I hope you understand what I meant by that. It was more eloquent and more good and better when I was saying it, but that was the essence of what it was. So that is my correct answer. If I'm not giving the correct answer, it's still too broad and expensive. There are the kick 6. It's just the easy answer. Duh. If I'm taking that off the table, I'm going to tell you some of the best moments that I've had as an Auburn person have not even been related about sports. Walking on our beautiful campus at nighttime last summer was one of the most just like surreal and like peaceful experiences I've had, and beautiful. Like, took some great images. We got some of those probably coming out for you guys again this summer. Having a Tumors lemonade on Stanford Lawn with a cool breeze coming by. But the sports ones, the kick 6, the rain game, Cadillacs coming out party basically against Syracuse in triple overtime. The punt, the 2007 Florida game. It's too many to count. All right. Let's see here. Doing lunchtime call tomorrow, most likely. Those are always yes, unless something changes. But yes. Now, Flaps, what's your name on TikTok so I can keep you straight? Like in terms of, because obviously you're one of our people from over there. Latrell says, War Eagle. Did a proposal in Auburn Trophy Room. Yeah, well, I had to, you know. I was a diaper baby when the kick six. Wow, I am aged now. Just like watching the replay highlights. I can only imagine watching it live, especially in person. Imagine that. Too dang many. That's right. Obviously, mine is going to Auburn with my husband for the first time and getting a tour. Oh, now that if that's your best moment, we gotta get you a better moment than that. I hope I gave you guys a good tour though. There's just too much to see and too much. You know, here's the funny thing. You guys know, most of you that have been here for a while know me and know this is about this. What we do is about the Auburn experience. Yes, we don't ignore it. Sports is king. We don't ignore the football is king. And we spend a lot of time talking about that, but it's about the full experience. I was thinking about this series / content series across many different things that we could do about recommendations for like how to have the best day, the best weekend, the best week in Auburn, what you could do in town, around the communities surrounding that, you know, even within a few, like how could you have a vacation in Auburn? Like it's easy to do. I'm just those type of topics. I'm thinking like, Connor. Now I got you. So that sparked me now even more. Was hearing the thump of the ball hitting the cross in the 2019 Iron Bowl. Kick, Bama, kick. Being at the first AU-UA game in Auburn is one of my favorite movies. I bet that's a good one right there. Cam Newton year. How about that for great Auburn moments? That's right. I graduated for that. Let's see what else here. It's really fun though. I think mine is going to be Auburn, Oregon game with my dad and brother. Anytime I get to share sports moments with them, it's special. And let's be real. Auburn moments are great by themselves, but they're better when shared together. And that's what makes the Auburn family so special. Clip it, put it out there into the world. Bam. You're welcome, Auburn. I just sold seats and stuff for you. All right, a few more comments and questions here. Flaps, I don't think I'm Connor. I don't think I'm gonna get to all of yours that you asked, but if there's something super in that you wanted me to hit, post it again. I remember in 2010, I didn't know who Nick Fairley was yet. I was getting his autograph, came then past us, and we chased him down the road. Oh, that's funny. One of my favorite moments was watching the LSU game live and Bo Nix throw that remarkable touchdown. Me and my dad went crazy. It was a very redeeming, good moment for Bo to show that he was not the problem. Bo literally put the team on his back to end that streak, that losing streak in Baton Rouge. Because when that play was happening, it was not looking good for Auburn. So if you're holding any animosity for Bo Nix, I'm going to evoke a Pat Dye quote. Just think about that night in Baton Rouge, and you'll know why Bo Nix needs to be honored a little bit more than he is these days. Yeah, the TJ Finley throw was there for that one too. Oof. PTSD. All right, final thoughts, questions, comments, topics. Very fast, rapid fire. Get them in. Reminders again. If you're not subscribed here, you need to be subscribed. Smash the like button if you haven't. Follow us across all social media: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Podcast. What I'm pushing a lot lately. I need you guys subscribed on the podcast and leaving reviews if you can. That is a huge help to us. Would really love to see you guys over there too, if you can. And if you're not subscribed here, you're going to miss out on content. Basically, if you want the full Auburn experience from E2C Network, get all the things. I'm looking forward to our call with our Conquer Club members tomorrow night from 8 to 10 in the Discord. It's kind of like an annual meeting we do with everybody who can join. Hope to see you guys there just to hang out however long you can, whenever you can within that window. If you'd like to be part of the Discord, $1 a month gets you in the door. patreon.com/E2C network. Link is here on YouTube. You can also join what I'm starting to call Conquer Club Lite, which is via joining the YouTube join button here or through Facebook. Some people have chosen to do that only because they don't want to go over to Patreon. You'll get some of the stuff that we do over there, but the best way to do it is through patreon.com/E2C network. All right. What else? What else here? Rapid fire. I'm surprised that you mentioned your proposal over your visit to the Auburn Buckies. That was a cool day too, because I got to spend it with my uncle, who is a obsessive Buckies fan, and he was like a kid in a candy store. Devin says, I can't imagine why anyone will harbor animosity towards Nix. He did his best with what he was given and gave some spectacular moments. Wish him all the best. Very few people will voice any true discontent anymore about Bo, but the ones that were the most vocal about it are the ones that are always looking for a scapegoat and want to be the ones to share some hot take and stuff like that. And he was the easiest one to pick on, just like Peyton Thorne is the easiest one to pick on right now. So they think they sound edgy. They think they sound smart by talking all big and bad about someone, but they just sound tired, boring, old. Like, no, I don't mean old in like age. Usually should bring maturity, like old in your way of thinking. Bo deserves our respect. So does Peyton too. Yeah, that was a rough game, Flaps. Let's see here. We're eagle to you, Damien. I don't know. Is that the first time you comment tonight? Good to see you. If you were lurking in the background, always feel free to comment if you can. But good to see that you were here. Yeah, we'll see if Bo ends up starting for Broncos. All right, we're going to call it a show, folks. I think that'll do it. Good show tonight. Good interactions, good comments, good questions, good calls, good topics. Don't be shy, folks. If you want to give the call and link a try, you don't have to be on camera like Thomas and Kevin were. It can just be your name on there. You have the choice to do that. Don't be shy. We'd love to hear some more voices on here, because this is about you, the Auburn family, you, the E2C Network family, the best little family within the Auburn family. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us, and being part of this good little family. Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.